Good morning, folks. We're back out at Dad's shop today. It's been a while since we've recorded a video out here at Dad's shop. Well over a month, I believe. And today, I've got a lantern that already works. I've had this lantern for a while. It's an October of 1962 220E. Pretty nice old lantern, but as you can see, it surges. It doesn't matter how much pressure you pump in it. You can turn the tip cleaner. Doesn't make any difference. It just surges the whole time it's running. So today we're going to do close to a full teardown on this lantern, clean everything, show you what I think is the problem that's causing it to surge, and see if we can fix this lantern and get it to burn nice and steady like it should. So now that I've recorded the beginning of this video, now I got to shut it off and let it cool down for about 15 or 20 minutes so it's cool enough for me to touch. Alright, that's cooled down cool enough that I can hold my hand on the top, so I ought to be able to start tearing it apart. I'm going to do a full teardown on this thing. I guess maybe not full teardown. I don't think I'll take the needle out of the fuel valve. There's no sense in messing with that packing that works, and I won't take the tip cleaner lever apart. But other than that, we'll tear it all down. Maybe I won't take the check valve out either. I don't need to pull that stuff out, but we'll pull out all the valve body of it and we'll clean everything up. I got a clean paint cup and a filter funnel here. We're going to dump the fuel that's in it out. I know I put that fuel in there. It's been well over a year ago, I know that, but it's fuel that I added. But we're going to dump it through a paper filter funnel, see if there's any chunks in there. But my guess is once we get it tore apart, it's going to be the pickup tube going to the bottom of the lantern. Either it's not. I've showed several times when you open the valve all the way, it opens up the little hole to pick up the fuel from the bottom of the tank. Either that's not opening as far as it's supposed to, or it's just stuck, or it just needs to have the spring on it stretched out a little bit. I'm guessing that's going to be the culprit, but you can see I didn't even clean the lantern up. I got it down out of it, been hanging in the rafters of the garage. Got it down, brought it out here. It lit right up. But after it lights, it's got that steady surge that will not go away no matter what you do. So let's start tearing it down. We'll give it a good clean up as we tear it down. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it's October. Yeah, 10 of 62. Nice old lantern. I should have looked around at home. I know that I've got one of the lanterns that I've got at home has two of the directions discs that tell you to open 1/4 turn until it burns brightly, then open fully. I know I've got a lantern that's got two of those stacked up on it. I should have looked for it so I could put one of them on here. I don't know. I'll look through my parts. I may have one in my toolbox too. We'll see if I can come up with one of those, and if I can, I'll put it on there. If not, at home sometime I'll go through and find the one that's doubled up, and we'll put that one on there. It does have, look, it has dead bugs. It does have a nice Coleman sunrise globe. Even the Pyrex made in USA on the back side of it is strong, easy to read. And much as I hate to waste the mantles for no reason, since we're going to tear this thing clear down, I'm going to go ahead and pull the mantles off. We'll pull everything apart here. We got plenty. These are cheapos anyway. Back when Walmart was selling them all out, we stocked up pretty good. (1962) still has, even though it's got the Coleman sticker underneath the label, still has the stamped into the side of the fount too, which is kind of cool. Kind of a transition between the stamped fount and the stickered founts on them. I had a guy tell me that I was saying it wrong, that it's font, not fount. But I don't think that's correct. I think font is
F-O-N-T.
Yeah, and font is like the letters you're typing on your computer. I think that the correct term is fount for a lantern. Plus, all right, this screw, let's get the camera in here a little bit closer. Dad's cleaning up the glass already, and the glass looks really good. It's nice,
pretty clean anyway.
Sunrise Pyrex. The whole thing I've had for a while. I looked back to see if I did a video on it, and I did not do a video on this one. Probably because it didn't really need anything. I just fueled it and fired it, but I know I've had it for a couple years and it's always surged like that, and I keep thinking I'm going to get that and fix it one of these days, and I finally just decided I need to do a video of that. This is the one thing on a Coleman that always frustrates me. You'd think that they would have a hole similar to the lighting hole or something through there so that you could get at this one little screw straight on. I've got one of the bent L-shaped screwdrivers at home in my toolbox that I've been going to throw in my lantern toolbox for about 2 or 3 years now, and I just haven't had time to find it and put it in there yet. Let's see here. Get one of the little magnetic parts dishes. I don't know what you call it. There's a little bowl with a magnet on the bottom of it. You can throw all your parts in there and they won't dump back out easily.
They work pretty good for chili too.
Do they?
No.
Really, you can eat chili out of whatever you want.
Oh yeah.
There's no rules about it.
You can even use a coffee cup.
Yep. I've used spray away glass cleaner to wash my plate when we were camping before.
Oh yeah.
What am I doing here? Talking and I can't remember. Okay. I couldn't remember which way to turn that, and it was so freaking tight. Usually they pop right loose. I'm like, am I turning it the wrong way? Too busy gabbing, not paying attention to what I'm doing.
You're hungry for chili.
It's getting that time of year.
Yes, it is. Well, this weekend it won't be. It's going to be hotter again.
Alright, we'll pop the generator out of there. We'll clean that up before we put it all back together. Got a wrench in my toolbox that we customized to fit these lanterns. Well, that wasn't very tight. I think I almost could have got that with my fingers. But we got one that we heated up and put a little bend in so you can get right down in there, loosen up that jam nut. Now we could back this little packing nut off, take that lever out of there, but there's no need to. I can get it apart without doing that, so I'm not going to tear that apart. Let's see how tight. Oh goodness, that's pretty snug. This air tube should thread right out of here, but it seems pretty snug. Sometimes you can just grab them with your hands and thread them right out of there. We'll try a little harder here, but I should have done that before I loosened that jam nut and got everything all wiggly. There we go. Lots of times they'll come loose just by hand, but that one was a little stuck.
Been in there for 63 years.
Yeah, there's a pretty fair chance this thing's never been tore apart. It doesn't look like it's had tons of use. Probably spent a lot of its life just sitting around somewhere. Okay, this is the part where if it's too tight coming apart, we may have to get the lantern vise, but if we need to, we can grab the lantern vise, put it over on the other side of the bench, and we can get it pulled apart. But often I can just get Dad to help me hold the fount, and we can still get this to come apart. And sometimes just your valves, or I guess the fuel assembly, the top part comes out. Sometimes the whole damn thing clear down to the fount threads out in one piece. We'll just have to see what happens here. I'd like to just put my adjustable wrench so that it's right over the valve body there. Here, I'll get the camera around here. I've showed this before too, but so that it's right over the valve body. And then I can stick another wrench through the hole in the top of that and crank on it to get it to come loose. Let's see if it'll break loose without getting the lantern vise out here. Oh, goodness. Nope, we're gonna have to get the vise for that one. She is snug. And lots of times the ones that come apart that hard, you end up getting the whole assembly from the fount up all in one piece. Okay, lantern vise that Dad built for us, oh, I don't know, a couple years ago now. It's simple, but it works good. Just two pieces of, I think a 2x6. Yep. Drilled a hole clear through. We got a piece of tap rod going through on each side. Got some old serpentine belt in there to pad so you don't scratch the lantern. Put it in there, tighten these down, and we just clamp it to our tabletop with a couple of big vise grips. It works pretty well. Now I can get some more. Oops, put that on this wrench. Now I can get a little more aggressive with trying to spin this valve off of here. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that is tight.
That is crazy tight. Holy cow.
Hope it don't twist off.
Maybe that's why nobody's ever fixed this before. Oh, it's turning the whole thing. It just popped and the whole thing's turning, so it's going to thread everything from the fount up in one piece, which is fine. We'll get it off and then we can heat up this joint to get it to come apart. Boy, I don't know that I've ever had one that was that tight. I was
kind of worried it might twist off.
Yeah, I was seriously concerned that I might break it off trying to get that out of there. And I hate to do that. This is a pretty good old lantern.
Yeah.
Pretty clean, pretty nice old lantern. Oh yeah, I should let the pressure out of there before that threads out all the way. Okay, it didn't have much pressure in it, but I could hear it hissing just a little bit when I was threading that off of there, so. Okay, there's the whole shooting match right there. Since that came apart that way, I was going to mention too when I was talking about this directions disc on here, I'm pretty certain that's not the correct screw in there. So whoever had that part off at some point and lost the directions disc probably lost the screw too. Because I don't think I've ever seen another one with a screw that looked exactly like that. Got to get the knob off of there since this came out all like that. Then I can get my collar out of the way. And I can get this part in the vise. I can heat it up really good, then clamp it in the vise and then try to thread this top part of it off so we can get the whole thing apart. It's a little inconvenient when they come apart like that because you still got the cage trapped on there, but not the end of the world. Alright, I heated the heck out of the valve body down here that the top part threads into. I had to heat it twice and it still was hard to get loose. But I heated that up really good, gently clamped it in the vise, put my wrench back on there and pried, did get it to pop loose. It's going to be too hot to touch now, but I can go ahead and grab it with some pliers and thread it the rest of the way apart. Set these parts down to cool, and while these are cooling, we'll do something else. There we go. It's cool enough to reach clear down there. We'll set these parts off to the side off of my rubber mat and let them cool. That's even, I heated it up so much that that's even hot clear out to the end of that little tip cleaner lever. I had to heat it a lot to get that thing to come loose. Okay, well that's all cooling down so that we can take those pieces apart and clean them up good. We can go ahead, pop the fount back out of the vise, and we're going to dump that fuel out and check how clean the fuel in this thing is. Many a bug's final resting place has been a Coleman lantern. Alright, let's see how much of a mess I can make dumping all this fuel back out of here. I know the fuel's not very old, I'm the one that put it in there. Dang, I was beginning to wonder if it was gonna all fit in here. Well, I would venture to say that dirty fuel definitely was not the culprit. We'll set that off to the side. We'll put that fuel back in it. Well, the old brown towel is getting pretty raggedy looking. This brown towel's been in a lot of my videos out here.
A lot of times a brown towel's what you need.
Yep. Alright, well I'm going to go ahead, while that's still cooling down, we'll hit this fount real quick with a little bit of glass cleaner here. Just wipe it off. I'm not going to get carried away. I might as well at least knock the loose stuff off of it. There we go. She's a little banged up and scuffed and scratched in places, but all in all,
63 years old.
yeah, for being 63 years old, it's in pretty good shape. Now, we could pull the pump out, but I've made plenty of videos where I pull the pumps out and work on them. There's nothing wrong with that, so I'm not going to take the pump out. I'm not going to take the check valve out. They both are functioning fine on this particular lantern, so no need to tear that stuff apart. I don't really even need to blow air through the air tube on this. We know that it was burning fine other than surging. I can shine my little pocket flashlight up there. It's clean. If you have a plugged up air tube, you don't get the surging as a problem. You get flame outside the mantles because you have an improper air fuel mixture. We know that that was working okay, so I'm not gonna worry about that. I did want to, however, show the fuel because I've had people say that having bad fuel in them will make them surge like that, and that fuel is fine. And I've burned 50-year-old fuel in my lanterns and they didn't surge a bit, so. All right, we might as well look at the generator here. Pull the tip cleaner rod out. The camera never picks up a little wire on there, but they're just like a size of a hair, little wire on the end of that tip cleaner, it looks fine. It's straight, it's not bent at all. We can also pop the little tip orifice off of there. And I always like to just hold it up like straight across from where I'm sitting here. There's a window that goes to outside, and I can just hold it up there and look, and I can see right through it. See the light coming through. It's not plugged up. Same thing with the generator. You can look right down the generator. This is one that's got the packing inside of it. I'm not going to pull that out and risk damaging it. I will give it a spray of brake parts cleaner through here, just to make sure there's no debris in there. I have a straw on this can. There we go. Put the straw on there and spray a little bit of the brake parts cleaner through the tip for the generator too, just so we know everything's clean when it goes back together. I'll go ahead and put all the parts of this generator back together, but we're getting now to the part that I suspect is causing the surging issue on this particular lantern. Always be careful putting your tip cleaner back through there. You don't want to bend that little hair-sized wire on the end of it. If you do, your tip cleaner will no longer work. Set that off to the side. Now we're getting down to what I actually think is the problem. And that is right in this assembly. This is where the valve wheel goes on. You crank out to open it. That's still pretty warm, dang. And this goes down into your fount. That's the fuel pickup tube. The way everything else has been, it's probably going to be dang tight on this thing. Nope, popped right loose. My guess is that the issue with this lantern surging the way it does is right in here. You've got one hole there in the side of that pickup tube that allows it to draw air from the top of the fount. So you've got your fuel vapors in the top of the fount, and it allows it to draw the air and the fuel vapors in from there for lighting it, so you don't flood it with liquid fuel. And the way it does that is when the valve is when it's shut or only open a quarter turn, it has a beveled area in there that pushes this down. And when that's down, there's a little tip that comes down here and sticks through there and closes off, mostly closes off the hole in the bottom of that. So you only get a little bit of fuel and mostly vapors coming in when you're lighting. Then when you open the valve all the way, like it says to on the instructions, this comes up and allows that fuel to come in through there. I've showed this on several videos before. Usually what will fix that is stretching this spring back out a little bit to make a little bit more tension. But I noticed this the camera could probably hear it, but I know you won't be able to see anything, but this is loose in there. It's moving a little bit, and I've never noticed that before. I wonder if it's sucking some air around there all the time from the top of the fount. I'm going to pause the camera and I'm going to dig through my parts and see what I've got and see if any of the other ones seem like that. I it may be common, but I've never noticed that before. So I'm gonna check out a couple other ones in my parts real quick. Okay. This is the one that was out of that lantern, and it definitely is loose right there. I don't know that that would be an issue at all, but this one is out of another lantern that we had out there, and it is not loose there. Doesn't move or anything. So typically I would just clean that up good, stretch that spring a little bit and put it back together, but since I can obviously see that that one could possibly be sucking some air, it doesn't make a noise, but I can feel it move a little bit when I push it together and forward too. So there is a chance it could be sucking air right there. I'm gonna put the one out of a parts lantern in there. So I'm gonna clean this up a little bit, make sure that I can see light through it, but it's a weird way the air comes in through here, goes down an outside tube and then up through the middle tube. So I'm gonna spray carb cleaner through everything, make sure it's cleaned out good, and then we'll put this back together. That moving around a little bit may not have ever made any difference, but since I've got another one right here, we might as well put it back together with one that I think is good. So I'm gonna spray carb cleaner both directions through this and down through the tube. I'll try to get a shot of this so you can see what I'm talking about here. The little hole in the side of the pickup tube is right here. When I spray carb cleaner down the center of this, it's going to come out the hole at the bottom, and it's going to come back up the outside tube and spray out that side hole, so you can tell that nothing is plugged up here. Hopefully I got it in front of the camera. When you get cleaner coming out both of those, you know that both of the tubes, the outside and inside tube, are not plugged up. So I'm just going to clean this up a little bit since
You're going to stretch the spring on that one?
I'm going to put the spring out of the other one that I already stretched back in this one. Clean this up just a little bit since I already got it right here in my hand, and the carb cleaner is sitting right here also. Yeah, this is the original pickup tube out of that lantern, and this is the pin out of the parts lantern. I'll put the two of those back together and put it in my toolbox. I might need something from it in the future, but I'm going to put this one out of the parts lantern back in this lantern. And if you didn't have a parts lantern and you ran into this same problem, you can oldcolemanparts.com has all the parts like this. You can get anything like that you need. Plus, if you're on any of the lantern Facebook groups, you could ask on there. I guarantee I'm not the only lantern collector that has a large parts inventory. I wouldn't have even had to steal this off of a parts lantern if I had my other little toolbox at home, because I got complete assemblies in there, but I didn't want to drive back home, so we just stole this out of a parts lantern that was hanging out in the side building. All right, now we are to the point where we can start reassembling this. I'm going to go back and wash all the carb cleaner off my hands, and we'll start putting this back together. All right, let's start reassembling this lantern. See if we can make it work better than it did before. I got to put the spring in first. I stretched out this spring a little bit. That usually will fix the surging problem. But I don't know that I've ever noticed one where that stem was loose before, and this one surged particularly bad. You could see it surging very well. I guess I can show you while I've got this right apart here. That doesn't have to be torqued down super tight, just tight enough that it won't fall apart in there. But you can see with that in the closed position that that little stem is poked out through that hole in the bottom. When you open it a quarter turn to light, it still is poked out through that hole in the bottom. And then when you open it all the way, it comes up, opens that hole up, and it comes up and opens that hole up there. I got the pin out of the other one, so instead of that pin being sticking out the bottom, it just slides up a little bit farther and lets it draw as much fuel as it can right in through that little hole in the bottom, so you're getting fuel instead of the air fuel mixture from the top of the tank then. There we go. Now, since everything is apart, we'll put it back together in the order, the opposite order of what I like to have it come apart. It's a lot handier when the whole thing doesn't thread out of the fountain one piece, but that happens sometimes. Okay, I got that hand tight. We're about a half a turn off from where I want it, and that is honestly just about all the farther I want to turn them past being hand tight. Once they're as tight as you can turn them by hand, I don't like to go more than half or maybe 3/4 of a turn to get it clocked the way I want it, because those are brass threads threading in there, and they are not as tough as you might think they could be. You could definitely end up stripping those threads off. Okay, I clamped it back in the vise. I got it to turn. I'd like to go just a little bit farther with it, but boy, it got tight fast. It's close enough. I'm not gonna chance stripping those threads off in there, so it's gonna be good enough just the way it is. At least it's close. The pump's on the right side. Well, I guess when it's facing you, the pump's on the right side, the cap's on the left side. So we're gonna leave it right there before I break something. There we go. Dad took some steel wool and knocked the loose, crusty stuff off of the cage here. That cage is pretty crooked. I'm gonna try to square that up just a little bit. Kind of looks like the whole bottom and everything is bent a little bit, like the whole thing might have got dropped at some point in its life, which is entirely possible. It doesn't take too much to spring those cages back around. Yeah, it definitely is. You can see right there, that's kind of bent down. Something's come smash that down at some point in its history. I don't think I'm going to get too carried away with that. I flexed it a little bit, got it a little bit squared up. Looks a little better than it did anyway. It will be functional, that's for sure. Had we taken the little tip cleaner lever out of there, it would make it easier to get this back together at this point. But I don't like taking stuff with the packing apart if it's not necessary.
Put the collar on. The collar.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good thing Dad's paying attention. Well, it could go on. Yeah, it can go on. No, it couldn't. Yeah.
Nope.
Yep. So yeah, get the collar in there. Good thing Dad's here paying attention. And when you put this together all as one piece, you gotta line your tip cleaner lever up with the little slot that it goes in, and then start threading it together, and you have to turn the whole cage at once. I just hold the collar so that the collar doesn't spin and scratch on, move around and scratch up the top of the fount. Thread it down. Obviously this thing is not perfect anyway, so I'm gonna try to get this the same way. I like to be able to stop with it just past hand tight, but you have to, if you want it clocked correctly, you gotta gauge how far you're threading and how much farther you think it's gonna thread down before it gets too tight, and stop when it's in the right position. Which, to me, the right position for this model with the tip cleaner like this is, you got your valve here, so the valve's pointing straight ahead. I want the tip cleaner over about 2 o'clock if you were looking at a clock face. Turn that around, look at the front of it and see. Yeah, I'm happy with that. On the on the 220, like E and F, like the ones with the soup can collars, that's the orientation approximately that the tip cleaner lever comes in. And then on the later ones, like the like a 220H that has the tip cleaner lever that doesn't have this little loop, it has like a little handle on it, they stick straight out the back of the lantern. But this is close to correct of how this one should be. And I can get my little bent wrench back down in here. I guess I can get that finger tight first. Get my little bent wrench back down in there and snug that jam nut up. Make sure that my hole for my air pickup tube is lined up. It looks close enough that it'll go in there. And this jam nut doesn't have to be torqued down super tight either. Get it good enough that when you pick the lantern up, it's not gonna wiggle around on there. I'm gonna go one more flat on the nut, turn it one more time, call that good enough. Just snug. Alright, we can put our burner. If I had not had this running before, I would definitely blow that air tube out, but I know that it's not plugged up. It was burning fine other than surging. So let's thread that back together. I'll show you. I turn the lantern so that as I'm threading it in there, I'm looking at that hole right there. You can see the hole in the air tube is starting to go down in there, and you can see through the hole in the valve assembly there and I watch for those two holes to line up. This is probably the trickiest part of the whole thing, getting that little screw back in there. Yep. If you have it threaded in the right number of threads, that screw will go right in. If you put that in and it doesn't go in all the way and is getting tight, you either need to go one thread around farther down or back it out one more thread to get them to line up. All right, we're getting closer here. Get my generator that we cleaned up put back in there. And make sure you put the top of the generator up into the hole that it goes into first. And then get your little hook on the bottom of the generator hooked into the tip cleaner mechanism. Then I turn that to the down position and that holds it all in there so it can't pop back out. And you can just let your jam nut slide down, tighten it up. Don't go crazy on it. That did turn a little bit. I'm going to tighten that just good and snug. It's brass on brass. It's not going to leak. I'll tighten that bottom jam nut just a little bit more. I don't like it when the two parts of this can slide around easily. Once the cage is in the way 100% of the time when you're trying to do this, that's for sure. There we go. Now this whole thing has got a bit of a lean to it. You probably didn't notice it so much before because the cage was bent too. But typically, the tops of these founts aren't super tough. And you can usually just flex that a little bit. There we go. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for me. Put our knob back on. I will find a direction disc for this at home. Throw one on here eventually. Putting this screw that was in there back into. It was already there. I don't know if it's correct or not, but it goes in there and works. Well, I'm going to dump the fuel that we took out of there back in it. See if I can do this without spilling too much of it. I'll be right back. I'm going to take this over the floor drain and do this because I have a feeling pouring out of this cup I'm going to make a bit of a mess. Okay, I should have been more confident. I did not spill one drip of that. I would have never guessed that I'd dump that out of there and not spill any of it. Or have it run back down the side of the cup as you're pouring it or something. But poor old fuel cap, somebody's been on it with the pliers. I did not replace the gasket in it, but it really doesn't look too bad. I don't know. Some people just think they gotta tighten them down with pliers, I guess.
I do.
All right, time for a new pair of cheapo Coleman mantles on here. Okay, I shut it down. I found another generator that I'm gonna try changing the tip on this generator. See if that makes any difference. It did kind of seem when I looked through the tip, like maybe the hole in the tip of the generator is a little worn on this. Everything is too damn hot to touch still, but I don't want to wait another half hour to cool it back off again. So we're just carefully pulling it apart here. Trying to not break my mantle. Take this tip off of there. Surprisingly, these small pieces cool down pretty darn quick. There we go. Change the tip on the generator. Yeah, these small parts cool down pretty quick. The larger parts in there stay hot for a while. Try to stick this generator back in there again. I will definitely say that it was an improvement. It was not surging as badly as it was when I started, but it should be not surging at all. I didn't break the mantle. It sure did touch it though. There we go. Take this tip that I took out of there, put it back on this other old spare generator, and keep it in here with my parts. Alright, let's give her a few more pumps again. Let's try it one more time. See if that makes any difference. If not, then I guess this lantern's just going to continue to surge. There we go. Had to do the same thing. I had to open the valve way far open to get it to light. One thing is for certain, most of these lanterns, they're kind of like our antique engines and stuff. Each one kind of has its own personality. Now with that tip on there, let's give the tip cleaner a turn. It still is surging, but it's not near as bright as it was with the other tip. And that leads me to believe that it's passing less fuel through this tip than that other one was. Let's see if my glass is cooled off enough to get in here. I think that that other tip was kind of wallowed out a little bit. Because after we cleaned everything up, it was aggressively bright. Still surging. Well, it definitely has improved over what it was, but it's still not perfect. I will run some fuel through it, see if it gets any better. Maybe I'll dump a little bit of seafoam in it when I get it home. I'll light it up well before dark tonight, and then after dark tonight at home, we'll get a shot of it burning at home in the dark and see if it's improved any after it's run a little bit. I know everything inside of it is clean now, so I don't know. If it doesn't get any better, I guess maybe I'll just name this lantern Sergio and let it sit there and surge.
Yep. Make them light.
It's definitely an improvement. We'll see you at home tonight. Okay, folks, it's about almost 8 o'clock. We just got home from dinner. We went out to dinner, and I've had this going since, let's see, I came home from Dad's. I probably got home about 12:30, so I probably lit this back up about 1 o'clock-ish. It's doing much better. I put a splash of seafoam in it, and I let it burn until about 4 o'clock, shut it off, topped off the fuel again, and lit it back up, and it's been burning for about 4 hours now. It's still surging just the tiniest little bit. It did still light kind of hard. Like I had to open the valve more than a quarter turn. So I think that little rod that goes down the pickup tube, maybe since I swapped them out, it's hanging up a little bit. We'll see the next time I light it if it works any better, but even if it doesn't, I know what to do now. You just open it up a little farther. Gonna let it burn for about another hour and a half, 2 hours maybe, and we'll come out and check on it again and put it away for the night. Alright, folks. It's about 10 o'clock. Lantern needs pumped a little bit. Alright, let's go put the chickens away. It is about 10 o'clock at night. Lantern's been going since, I think it said about 1 o'clock in the afternoon probably. Other than just shutting it down, topping the fuel off at about 3 o'clock-ish, 3:30-ish maybe. And it's been burning really good. It still has just the slightest little bit of a surge to it, but it's doing pretty darn good. Yeah, it's bedtime. Okay, there we go. Alright, I'm going to carry the lantern back up here and shut it off, put it away for the night. Thanks for watching, folks. Like I always say, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, share this video if you know somebody you think might enjoy it, and come on back next week. We'll have a video of something here. Thanks again for watching, folks.